Welcome to the show. We have an exciting program planned for you as usual. But before I introduce you to my very special guest today, I want to thank all of you that have responded so positively to our recent shows about women with a view or a new view and girlfriends coming together on a higher level and sharing their stories. You've called with such positive comments, and I just appreciate it so much. Our telephone has been ringing off the hook, and your emails have been coming in. We have been getting them. Thank you so much. And many of you I've spoken with personally, and it's been a pleasure sharing that time with you and hearing the kind things that you had to say to us. And I want to remind you that Dr. Faye will be hosting a gathering for women at the Holiday Inn, City Line Avenue, on November 20th from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. The seating is limited, so I wanted to get all of that in before we got started, because sometimes when I get started with these girlfriend shows, we just get all off track, and next thing you know, I will have forgotten to give you this important information. And I will try to remember to give it to you again before the end of the show, but put that date down now, November 20th from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. at the Holiday Inn on City Line Avenue. And you can go to my website for further information. It's drfaye.com. Welcome my guest now. Her name is Carol Williams, a very good friend of mine. Thank you so much for dropping by. And normally I would jump up and just really hug all my girlfriends because that's who I am. But you know, they have us all tied down here, yes, so we'll just go with that. I wanted you to come because we met, you know, I don't know how long ago now. What is 2 years now?
Yeah, 2 years, about 2 years
ago at another meeting.
You were just starting.
I know. And I was just really getting started in this area in television and with Urban Cable, and I just love Urban Cable. They're just some of my favorite people in the world. And you did an article with in a local paper on
Yes.
And that was like my first press release, official press release. You wrote that article. And matter of fact, we're going to post part of that on the website on drfaye.com just to highlight some of the things that you did say. I want you to just tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing. I know that you're working with a very powerful organization. I believe you're the founder and president of it.
Yes.
So it's called the Center for Justice and Humanity.
It's the People's Coalition for Justice and Humanity.
Okay, now what is that all about? Tell us a little bit about that.
Basically what we're a change agent, a healing factor. The People's Coalition is a communications tool that we use to try to reconnect people with their humanity. Because when I started, it began as an effort to try to reestablish that homey, cohesive, loving community that we once had, that we've lost for various reasons. And I'm talking worldwide.
Yes.
I'm not just talking, in the city of Philadelphia or the United States, but worldwide. I was troubled by so much war, so much famine, so much pain, so much suffering in the human condition. I felt that I had to do something more than just write articles in a local newspaper. So I got with a few people and we started this international initiative, the People's Coalition for Justice and Humanity. And we can be found, by the way, at www.justiceandhumanity.com, and is spelled out. Yes. And if you go to the website, you'll see posted articles, photographs. We even have you up there, Dr. Faye, as a matter of fact.
Yes, I know.
In our women's section.
You can read the full article on your site.
Yes, and we have a link to your website there. And if you go to the site, you'll find photos. Some are graphic. I'd advise a parental advisory because some show situations of hunger, emaciated bodies. There are other issues where there are wars, and there are photographs of what I'm trying to do is impact, shock people back into the reality that we're all human beings, regardless of our colors, our religions, our genders, our socioeconomic status. We're all people. And as human beings and children of God, we all share certain humanities and are responsible. You know what I mean, Dr. Faye?
I know exactly what you mean, because it seems that through the human drama, we forget the compassion that we do have on the inside of us. I think many times we go through so many traumatic situations that we fail to remember who we are. We fail to remember that we are human and that we have compassion. We really do. I notice that every time there is a national or an international disaster, that people do come to the aid of other people. Community is there.
Yes.
And I thank God for that, because this country is still a country that still wants to reach out and help. And it's tragic that it takes a disaster to see that.
Yeah.
And I can understand that you want to do that, have people to understand that that's a daily. That's something you can do every day. You can do it with your neighbors next door. You can do it with your comrades at work. You can be more sensitive to those that are around you, knowing that every day there's a need in someone's life.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
we have to be able and willing to reach out and touch that individual. No man is an island. And I mean, I know that's an old cliche, but it's true. A very powerful truth.
Yes.
That we are not existing on this planet independent of everyone else, that we do need other people. I remember a clip from a news station a couple of years ago where there was a gentleman who hadn't been seen for over a week. And no one, I think maybe a niece or nephew had come by a previous week, and he told them to just leave him alone. Well, they did. They left him alone. And next thing you know, the dog is in the window or something happened, and they finally discovered that this man had been deceased for like a month, because neighbors knew that the man lived alone, but no one bothered to really check on him.
To actually,
and I can feel that your organizations, through this organism, because it's a living factor, it's not just something on paper and structure, that it's hands-on, is getting involved and touching one another again. You know, getting out there and caring again. I grew up in a caring society. I grew up down south, and I'm not saying that, okay, you northerners, don't throw bricks at me, but I'm not saying that that's not found in the north. I am saying that I grew up in a caring environment where people, you knew your neighbors, and you cared about what went on. Sometimes too much, you were a little nosy, but you, you really got involved. But you know, some of that is still good, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. I came up in the same kind of environment, you know, several years ago, of course. But the neighborhood, it was like Miss Jenkins down the street knew your mom, knew you. If she saw you smoking a cigarette, she would, you know, go to you and correct you about it. Call your parents would correct you about it. Everybody knew everybody. If there were a hungry family on the street, they were invited into people's homes. But I think that because of the way the human condition has deteriorated, and people are so angry and so vile and so violent, that a lot of people who would normally be given are kind of withdrawn. You know, like back when you were growing up, it was no big thing to walk down the street and say, good day, good morning, how are you?
You better.
Yeah, you know. But nowadays you're almost afraid to a lot of people to, you know, reach out to each other, because you don't know if that person will follow you and, you know, do you some bodily damage or something like that. And I think what people are forgetting is the God conscience that is in all of us. And I believe that's a natural thing, and it's in everyone. But I think the distractions of this world and the evil spirit and all of that buries this in people and distracts people from relating to that immediately. So the first thing that we do is we go to self, as opposed to going to others. You know what I'm saying?
I think, yes, and I totally agree with what you're saying, and I also hear with what you're doing with, and if I don't say it correctly,
the People's Coalition.
The People's Coalition for Justice and Humanity, right? That there's a call for people also to remember, just remember, because all of us came from a divine source.
The same source.
So we need to remember that at all times and be conscious of that, so that we will know that it's okay to love again.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing even with the shows concerning women and involving women in relationships, not just women, because you can't be in a relationship just by yourself, but relationship issues, that once you are healed, you can open up and love again. Otherwise, you keep taking the same baggage, and you can take it from block to block.
Person to person, job to job,
you can
relationship
church,
to relationship.
church to church, you know, you can be one denomination last week and another one next week. Because you're not healed, you're constantly looking for that healing process, and searching for what is really already within you. I believe that everything that we need is in the house. It's within us.
Absolutely.
And that all we need to do is tap into that,
reach in there and grab it.
Reach in there and grab it, because it certainly has been placed there. And that it's okay to be nice to people. It really is.
It helps. It actually helps.
I made a decision. When I first started moving from my little country palace and moving into the kingdom of the cities. I decided that I was going to continue to be nice to people. I had to make a decision because, as you said, when you speak to people, sometimes they think that,
you're after something. Yes,
what do you want? What are you up to? You know, stay away from me. That type of attitude. But I thought, you know what? That's not my problem. That's not my issue, and I will not make that my issue. I am going to continue to hug and love people and be nice. Be me. Someone said to me recently, they said, you know what? You know, you're too nice to people, and sometimes they can take advantage of that. Yeah. I said, you know, I'm not going to stop being nice. And if they try to take advantage, then that's still their problem. I may be nice, but I'm not dumb. You know, don't stamp me stupid and send me out to the back 40, you know, because I can speak my truth, and I can be firm in my truth. And when it comes to standing my ground, I can do that firmly. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. I want you to talk about it, and I don't know how much time we have on this first half of this show, but we will get into it, and Omar just told me 3 minutes. So we will get into it, but I want us to, we'll finish it after the commercial break. Being a woman, obviously you are, and
having a good time.
Yeah, a dolled up diva, you know. You love being a woman.
Yes.
And you enjoy your femininity. You are a businesswoman.
Yes.
And you're in radio, and you write for a local paper, and you're doing all of these things for your community. How difficult is it as a woman to be able to break through some of the areas where it has been dominated by men?
Oh, it's very difficult. I started in this business writing sports, ice hockey.
Ice hockey.
Okay, as a matter of fact, ice hockey. Covered the Philadelphia Flyers for about 3 years. And it was difficult. When you're going into a situation like that where it's, you know, mostly masculine, men have a tendency to be a little harsh. They want to test you and see if you come up to standard. You know, so you have incidents like going into the locker room. You got to go in there. You know.
You got to go into the locker room.
You have to go into the locker room, yes. You get used to the smells.
How did you write? Just put the pad on.
You stay in your God center.
Oh, okay.
You know, you get in that safe place, in that professional place, you know, and you stay there, and you keep the eyes at a certain level.
Okay.
You know, and the tape recorder there, and you just, you know, you save your embarrassment.
Your job.
Yes, for when you're outside of the locker room. You have that pressure for men to perform professionally, so you know, you're motivated to do that. But it was very difficult. The constant testing, you know, the little traps, and, you know, the domination and all of that. It was difficult.
What are you doing here in a man's world?
Absolutely. I got that so many times. Who are you here? And then who do you write for? You know, and how did you get in here? I got that so much.
I just love the way men challenge us to do our best.
Yes, I do.
So that we can be a better asset to the world and help them along the way when we do our best.
Absolutely, because I think I brought to sports writing a certain humanity. You know, it wasn't just about the game. I wrote about what the guys were doing behind the scenes, what they were doing for the community. I wrote about their wives, their families.
Oh, I like that.
I humanized them.
Yes.
And I think that there's room for that in a lot of the masculine areas.
You know what, and I think we still need a lot of that because people are still in such shock when they find out their favorite sports star has committed a faux pas or found in adultery or has done something that's human, you know, in nature, because they had put them in such a high place.
Yes.
And I think we need more of that.
We do. Everyone's ready to pick up a stone to throw.
Yes.
You know, and people, they forget, you know, we all live in kind of glass houses to a certain
Oh,
extent.
yeah, yeah. Watch who you point your finger at, because they always say, how many you're pointing back at you? More pointing back at you than the one that you're pointing. Listen, we're just breaking ground here, so don't you dare move from that seat, because we will be right back after this break. Welcome back. I told you not to move because we have another guest who has joined us, and I want to introduce her before we start our chit-chat up. And that is Margaret Brockington.
Marlene.
Marlene.
Prophetess Brockington.
Who is Margaret? You don't know?
I don't remember.
With Marlene Brockington. Welcome. And I should have read it here, and I would have gotten it correct.
Yes.
But I met you several weeks ago.
Yes.
And you are a very powerful woman and very influential.
Okay.
And you and Carol have met already, and she was the guest on the first half of the show.
Yes.
But I wanted to bring you in on the second half because I know you have a lot to share. But before we get started, I want to go back to Carol for a moment.
Okay.
Because we were talking about the community and humanity and pulling people back and allowing people the opportunity or giving them the space to reawaken their God-centeredness and
Yes.
God-consciousness.
Yes.
And we talked about the fact that you've been a woman and writing,
working
not
in
been
ice
a woman,
hockey.
you are a woman, and that you were writing for sports.
Yes, for the Flyers farm team, the Philadelphia Phantoms.
Right. And I want you also to share, I know that every woman has a story, and I was saying this a long time before I heard this on another network, that there is a show coming on about women telling their stories. And there are billions of women on this planet, so we have to offer as many platforms as we possibly can for women to tell their stories. So this is not a copy show. This is an original, because we've been doing this on and off for some time. So I want you to take time, Carol, to share with us a little bit of your story.
My story, wow. Okay, my story begins here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I was born. I've traveled to 5 countries, so I've seen a lot of life. I've seen what poverty looks like in places like Southeast Asia. And when you have those kind of experiences, you know, when you come back to this country, it kind of centers you, you know. And as a youngster, I was brought up in the church. So God's always been there, always been a part of my life. I like to say I was born saved, you know, because it's been that long, you know. And God's always been in my life. And as a teenager, I had, you know, problems, you know, growing up, finding yourself, your identity. And I found myself as a Black Panther, working out of the Philadelphia branch. And that was an experience in itself. I got involved with
women could be Black Panthers.
Oh, yes. We had to fight for that right, Sister Faye. We certainly did. And to be completely honest with you, a lot of those programs, free clothing programs, all those caring programs, I mean, you know they were women-centered.
Yeah, of course.
Come on, you know.
Those are nurturing programs.
Yes.
Right.
And that's really what drew me to the Black Panther Party. I knew there were hungry children in Philadelphia. I grew up on the block, like I said. When children were hungry, they would come to your house. You gave up half your meat, you know, a spoonful of your corn, and went around the table. You know, it was that kind of thing. So when it was brought to my attention that people were organizing free food programs, and this was before welfare had these kind of things, I got involved right away. You know, I loved Martin Luther King, but I didn't have the internal fortitude to stand there and take the violence. You know, I admire those people. It takes a certain kind of internal fortitude to stand there. I didn't have that. I didn't really believe spiritually the way the Muslims did, so I couldn't get involved in that. So I listened to the teachings of Huey P. Newton in the Black Panther Party, and he was talking about alleviating suffering of all poor and oppressed people. And some people, when they look back at the Black Panthers, they see it as a racist organization, but if you read the 10-point platform and program, it involves all.
Well, that was the projection of the media. That's what the media put out there, that it was just a militant organization.
Villainized us.
Right.
So that way they could come after us with the violence, yeah. And after the Panthers, I went to college, got my degree in social work, got a degree in human services, and I did that for a while. I worked at Friends Hospital and did daycare, you know, preschool education, but there was something in me that wasn't fulfilled, you know, wasn't fulfilled. So I entrenched myself in the Bible. I must have read the Bible cover to cover 5 times before I gave it up. You know, you got to give it up. I gave it up and surrendered to God, and I became an ordained minister in the evangelical faith, and I did that for a while. Still do, individually and as the house of God, as opposed to being confined into a building. You know what I mean, right?
Yes.
So I did that for a while, and then after that I became a writer, journalist, went into the prisons to minister there, and started the radio talk show and the People's Coalition for Justice and Humanity. And I've been married 27 years, and that's an accomplishment in itself. People ask me how I did it, you know, like there's some kind of magic formula. But there's no magic formula. You know, it's just about sacrificing, giving up, you know, some of what you feel is right or wrong, putting up with a whole lot, the other person putting up with a lot from you because no one's perfect, and toughing it out. You know, when I got married and made a vow, not just to my husband but to God, I wasn't trying to break that for any reason. I don't believe in divorce. You know, I think people should tough it out, you know, unless it's a situation where it's really violent, or, you know, it's really bad and
Because
children are, yes.
There
Yes.
must always be a line in the sand, what is toughing it out.
Absolutely, and I have to clarify that by saying that sometimes we don't marry who God intends for us to be with. A lot of times we marry out of physical lust because the person has a nice car or a good job, you know, or something like that, and we're not looking for the God in the person, you know, when we get with them.
And some people marry because they're just lonely.
Yeah, they just don't
They're
want to
just
be by
tired of being
themselves.
alone. I'm so tired of being
But
alone.
you're not. You're not alone.
But that's what people feel.
Yeah.
That's what we really feel as women, and people feel alone, and they feel like there's no one there, and they would rather have a man,
A bad man.
than no man at all. And it's a tragedy. It is such. See, when you strike little chords, I get on the soapbox. But it's a tragedy that some women want a man so bad that they have lowered the bar so much that a man doesn't have to do anything to be with them.
Yeah, you're right.
Doesn't have to pay a bill. Just show up when he wants to, as long as I can claim fame, you know, put my name to you at some point. And that's still a part of the healing process.
Yes.
You know, that has to be healed inside of women, and so we can continue to heal men.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in throwing the men away just because they've done some things that aren't
I
pleasing.
think, Sister
I
Faye,
believe in being
that's
healed so we can heal.
a little bit of our fault. We're raising these men.
Absolutely.
They're our children.
We give birth physically, emotionally, spiritually, to everything on this planet, as far as the human race. We give birth to it. Anything that is born has been born of a woman.
Oh, my Lord.
And if it's going to happen, it has to come out of a woman.
Yeah, it does.
So if we don't like what we're creating, then we have to go back within the spiritual womb and recreate it.
And change it.
We must do it. We have that responsibility because we are still the majority gender in population.
That's right.
And we have the numbers, we have the power, but we have to reawaken that feminine power that's lying dormant on the inside of us. And so we'll stop compromising who we are to have something next to us in the bedroom. Is this a family show? I don't know. I don't know. But it's clean. That's clean. That we need to understand that so that we can continue to keep that frame of mind. And I've heard women go to the other extreme. I don't need a man. I don't want a man. I don't ever want to see one again, and blah, 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 because that's hurt talk.
Yeah, for
That's
good reason.
hurt. So there has to be a lot of healing. And I'm sorry, I stopped you in the middle of your story. Continue.
Oh, that's okay. It was basically at the end. I've got a daughter.
No, that's not
husband
the end.
and a daughter. Well, yeah, there's a lot more.
27 years.
Yeah, 27 years.
That is wonderful.
27 years. It's been a great life. I feel that.
And you've only just begun.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're still going strong. You're still doing a lot of things. And positioning yourself, you know, and this is just from talking to you and sharing with you, positioning yourself to help humanity. That's what I admire about you, and I respect you so much for that.
Thank you, Dr. Faye.
I really do.
I can't help it.
I know you can't. And that's what I love about you. You can't help it. You can't help but to be who you were created to be. And I interrupted you. You were about to say something else.
Well, I was just going to say that I've raised a compassionate, godly daughter, you know, and I try to be as positive in my community as I can, because I feel that each person, especially each woman, has a certain responsibility, you know, to her fellow man, to the next woman that you meet, to share and to heal.
Absolutely.
And, okay, that's it for me now. I would like to find out what's going on with my sister over here.
That's not it, but that's the part of you that you want to share right now. That's not it, because you have so much to contribute,
absolutely.
and we want you to continue to be open with that throughout the duration of this show.
Okay.
But Marlene, you've come here and you've gone through so much and you've accomplished so much. Give us a little bit about your background.
Okay, for first thing, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, and I came to this country in 1989 because I was told it was like a place you would come to make it if you couldn't anywhere else. But before I came here, as a little girl starting from 5 years old, because I know we don't have all day, so I'll say just hit some points. I tried to keep it secret for a long time, and as I go around trying to preach deliverance and healing to other women, I realized that I was just massing. A preacher, evangelist, apostle, prophetess, all the 5, gifts of the Spirit, and walking around with telling people how, you can be victorious in God. Just pray and all the stuff will go away.
Just do it.
Just do it. But one day, a couple of months ago, I sat back and I realized that I was living for what other people wanted. I was doing a phony living of saying, all is well and there is no issues. I don't cry because I turn it to Jesus and he understands. So I had to go back, and in my meditation and start to go back in a journey, I went back at 5 years old, and I realized why in my life I was always attracted to the wrong person, and I was seeking love, because the first experience of love I had was touching, fondling, and inappropriate behaviors from an adult man that's supposed to take care of me. I'm disclosing this because every time I have a meeting with women, a conference, breakfast, there is somebody in the room that will say it happened to me, but I didn't get a chance to express it. And I realized there's no true healing until when you say it. People not going to be locked up and be arrested. Person that hurt me that way already deceased. But it was when I was 33 years old, I watched a woman on the TV and she said I was molested, but then I wouldn't say it, and it took me 12 years later to publicly telling others,
get it out of your mouth.
to let them know at the age of 5. And if we have time, I'll just say from that experience how the spirit of lust, people say the girl is running the street. They just don't run the street. We got to get back what caused this girl to be running the street.
Right, exactly. There's a root cause for it.
A root cause.
And I know we have a couple of minutes on this show, but I am going to bring you back on the next show, because I want to hear the rest of this story, because you did pinpoint some things that are vital that I want those that are listening to really get this. It may have happened 30, 40, 50 years ago, but you have to go back in and deal with that issue before your life can really make sense.
Yes.
Your life will not make sense until you deal with all of the demons in the closet.
You got to
and you have to literally go in and say, come out, wherever you are.
Yes.
It's time to do battle, because
Yes.
I am coming in to clean house.
Yes.
See, we're constantly cleaning out here because that's
Where
our
people
nature.
can see.
But we won't go in and do that work.
Yes.
And the conference that we're having on November 20th at the Holiday Inn City Line, write that date down and location, it is about going in the house to do the work.
Yes.
Gotta be willing to take time to do the work, because if we don't do the work, how can we accomplish our mission successfully? How can we fulfill our destiny? I don't want another woman I know to have an aborted dream or vision. I am sick and tired of abortions. I'm not marching with signs at abortion clinics, but I tell you, I am marching with a sign that says, I do not want you to abort your dream baby, your vision, your mission, your goal, because you have not done the work. So remember, Dr. Faye will be coming back on the air. Hopefully, you guys will put me back on. We will be back with another show, and I want to thank Carol, and I want to thank Marlene, so you got it right, for being with us. And so we'll see you next time. Don't forget to call me at 215-624-4723, 624-4723, or go to my website, drfaye.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Bye.